This conference will now be recorded.
The special council meeting of June 30th, 2020 will now please come to order. Due to this special council meeting being a virtual meeting, council is asking anyone who would like to address council that is participating through the computer to use the chat feature now to let Clerk Mazzarolo know you have a comment, and you will be called on during the comment portion of the meeting. If you are calling on a phone and do not have access to the chat feature, we will give directions during the public comment portion of our meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Broussard.
Present.
Mr. Glassburn.
Here.
Ms. Seaman.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Limpert.
Present.
Mr. Schuman.
Here.
Ms. Williamson.
Here.
This is a reminder for our council members that the charter amendment legislation that is on tonight's agenda requires a 2/3 vote of council. That is 5 votes to pass. Mayor Kennedy, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, no report this evening.
Thank you. Assistant Law Director O'Malley, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I do not have a report.
Thank you. Finance Director Copper, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, I just wanted to let council know that we did receive today $763,000, $245.52, which is the coronavirus funding. Additionally, you should have received this week the May financial statement summary and detail, as well as the May key indicators report and review. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving into council committee reports. Councilman Broussard, Chairman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williamson, Chairwoman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schuman, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President, but if I may have a moment of privilege, please.
Yes.
Thank you. I did, just as a reminder to my colleagues, that I did circulate today our final draft of the letter in support of the donation, possible donation of Ohio Department of Transportation land to assist with our flood mitigation work. And I wanted to remind everyone that you should have that in your email boxes today. Chuck will be sending it out on Friday. So if you have any more comments or anything further, just let him know. Otherwise, it will stand as is. It incorporates the administration's comments as well as those submitted by Councilman Schuman. And I think it's good to go. The attachments should be there as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you for joining our meeting tonight. At this time, council will hear comments from the public. Please remember to state your name and address for our clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city. We will start with those who have notified us via chat. Anyone who has not notified us via the chat feature who would like to comment, please unmute your device and start your comment when prompted. Council Clerk, has anyone notified you that they would like to comment tonight?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. At this time, if there is anyone else who would like to comment, please address council now. Mr. Sturgeon. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Sturgeon. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Jeff Sturgeon, 3092 West 231. I just wanted to again say thank you to council, and what a pleasure it was working with council on this charter review, all these amendments that you're going to be going over tonight. And I really have a lot of respect for everybody on this council, and I can tell you that this charter review commission, we put a lot of hours into this and a lot of discussion, and more than anything else, it was a pleasure working with council on this. And if we should meet again regarding this next 4.5 years, I look forward to also meeting again regarding the charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sturgeon, and thank you and the entire Charter Review Commission for the service that you've provided to the city of North Olmsted. Seeing no other comments from our audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading. Resolution 2020-52, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase a new Ford F-550/5500 Ford truck for use at the wastewater treatment plant from MTech Company, and to include installation of a maintainer crane assembly and incidental equipment from Maintainer Corporation at a combined cost of $131,888 through the state purchase program, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Heeman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2020-52 and ask for a second, please.
Second.
Motion to adopt resolution 2020-52 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-52 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2020-65, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the city of North Olmsted to Article 7, Section 3 of the Charter of the city of North Olmsted for the purpose of eliminating the Parks and Recreation Commission and reassigning the duties of the commission to the administrative staff and declaring an emergency as amended.
Madam President.
Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to move the adoption of 2020-65 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-65 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes, with comment. I would like to thank the 2020 Charter Commission and Chairperson Sturgeon as well for all of their hard work to deliver this package of reforms to help move our city forward. Each of these measures that were recommended by the commission after great deliberation are merited, and it was an honor to be a part of the process as well. Thank you.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
No.
Ms. Williamson.
No.
Ordinance 2020-65 is adopted with a vote of 5 to 2.
Ordinance 2020-66, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the city of North Olmsted to Article 1 of the Charter of the city of North Olmsted for the purpose of conforming the charter to revised code requirements regarding detachment of land and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Glassburn.
at this time, I would like to move the adoption of 2020-66 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-66 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-66 is adopted with a vote of 7 to 0.
Ordinance 2020-67, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the city of North Olmsted to Article 4, Section 7 of the Charter of the city of North Olmsted for the purpose of 1, authorizing the council to establish council meeting dates and locations, 2, eliminating the requirement that council meetings occur in council chambers, and 3, authorizing council meetings to be conducted via electronic format and declaring an emergency as amended.
Madam President,
Councilman Glassburn.
at this time, I would like to move 2020-67 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-67 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-67 is adopted with a vote of 7 to 0.
Ordinance 2020-68, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the city of North Olmsted to Article 4, Section 11 of the Charter of the city of North Olmsted for the purpose of requiring a statement of necessity when the requirement of three readings of legislation is suspended and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Glassburn.
at this time, I would like to move for the adoption of 2020-68 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-68 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
No with comment, please. I truly feel that this is a non-issue, but if members of council do feel that it is an issue, this should be handled within the rules of council. Thank you.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
No.
Mr. Broussard,
No with comment for the same reasons as stated by Councilman Schuman. Thank you.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
That vote is 4-3, and therefore that motion fails for lack of a 2/3 vote of council.
Ordinance 2020-69, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the City of North Olmsted to Article 14 of the Charter of the City of North Olmsted to require appointments to the Charter Review Commission to occur before January 1st, and further requiring the recurring five-year review and report of the commission to be completed and submitted to the council not later than May 31st of the year in which a review occurs, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Glassburn.
at this time, I would move for the adoption of 2020-69 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-69 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-69 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2020-70, introduced by Mayor Kennedy and council members Glassburn and Heeman. An ordinance providing for the submission of an amendment to the electors of the City of North Olmsted to Article 15 of the Charter of the City of North Olmsted for the purpose of allowing city meetings, including all board and commission meetings, to be convened and conducted via an electronic format, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Glassburn.
at this time, I would move the adoption of 2020-70 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-70 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes, with comment. I think it's important as the Charter Review Commission was reviewing this, and I believe even in our council reviews of this proposal, one important part of this was to make sure that this was allowable for a case of emergency and not business as usual. So I think we just need to make sure as a council that that is truly covered within our rules of council for the purpose that's being proposed. Thanks.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-70 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2020-71, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. An ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the City of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Schuman.
I want to move for adoption of 2020-71. Ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-71 made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Broussard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman, Ms. Heeman,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-71 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2020-72, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution dispensing with the RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with John Patrick Picard Architects, Inc. for the purpose of providing architectural services for the North Olmsted City Hall Public Health Improvements Project and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Kelly.
I move to adopt Resolution 2020-72 and ask for a second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2020-72 made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman,
To state that, we do normally have the request for proposal process. This particular architect does do quite a bit of work in our city, and that hopefully after the COVID process sort of ends, we will be going back to a request for proposal. This particular piece of legislation is relative to money that needs to be appropriated and contracted with a pretty tight deadline based on that it's COVID-19 special money from federal government, but ultimately then to
Madam President. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Heeman, I didn't, there was a delay in the audio, so I didn't get your yes vote, and it skipped through a lot of your comments. So can I ask you to repeat it, please? Not getting it.
we are, was requested without the proposal, the request for proposal. Okay.
Is it a yes vote?
We got the yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson, Ms. Williamson, Mr. Broussard.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-72 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2020-73, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the North Olmsted City Hall Public Health Improvements Project as detailed in the specifications on file in the Department of Planning and Community Development, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilman Kelly.
I move to adopt Ordinance 2020-73 and ask for a second.
Motion to adopt Ordinance 2020-73 made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman, Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson, Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-73 is adopted with a vote of 7-0. With the agenda being complete and there being no further business to come before council, this special council meeting of June 30th, 2020 is adjourned at 8:25 p.m.